All right, I think we're live. Cool. So, keeping with the new tradition, my goal is to maintain a every Sunday live nutritional segment. Hey, how's it going? So, this video, we're covering nutrition for people who want to gain muscle and still stay lean. And so, again, my goal is every Sunday at about 9:30, 9:45. What's going on, Andres? Every Sunday around 9:30, 9:45, my goal is to hop on here live and do a nutrition video. Each Sunday is going to be a different topic. This topic is how to eat for more muscle, because I've been getting a lot of those requests. Hey, what's going on, Adam? Cool, we got quite a few people jumping on. So, like I was just saying, I've been getting a lot of requests for how do I eat for more muscle, right? Because I'm on a weight loss challenge, body transformation challenge. So I'm trying to build muscle, but I'm trying to lean out. And there's a lot of people out there who they're fairly good on their body fat percent. They just want to bulk up. And so we're going to cover both things. Just to oversimplify things, people like me are easy gainers. If I want more muscle, I just lift a little and I just eat a little, and yeah, man, just get educated. That's what it's all about. I learned some stuff the hard way, and I'm gonna give it to you the easy way. You just got to put in the work. That's what it comes down to. So for people like me, I'm an easy gainer, and so there's hard gainers out there. My brother's just getting home. Little corner store run. He's also an easy gainer. You give him a popsicle and he's... All right, so I'm an easy gainer. There's people out there that are hard gainers. They're actually the ones who were messaging me about, hey, I like the videos, but they're not for me. Do one for me, do one for gaining muscle, do one for nutrition on how to bulk up. All right, so here's a very oversimplified analogy of what easy gainers go through and what hard gainers what hard gainers go through. So the oversimplified version is imagine a bowl of rice. So if I were to eat one bowl of rice, my body's gonna just absorb it and I'm just gonna plump up. So if I eat 3 bowls of rice throughout the day, I'm really gonna plump up. My body is just very sensitive to starches, very sensitive to grains, and so it's very easy for me to bulk. Now, in order for me to lose weight, then that now means I would have to eat 1/3 of that 1 bowl of rice for the day for my body to get everything that it needs. So what a regular gainer would get from a bowl of rice, they could have 1. Me, I gotta have 1/3 to get what I need. And then everything else is just, being real lean. For the hard gainer, they would literally have to have the 3 bowls of rice consistently every day, because the way their metabolism works, they're just gonna be shredding through it. So in other words, it's almost as if that those grains are being used as fuel instead of used as the stuff that's going to make up the muscle, the glycogen and things like that. And so if that's the number one thing that we need for more muscle, carbs and starches and grains, that's the one thing that hard gainers, their metabolisms are just burning through. And so there's not many ways around it other than you got to eat more. You got to find different ways of sneaking in more food, speed eating. So pretty much what your parents will tell you not to do, slow down, you're gonna choke on your food kind of a thing. Well, it's the opposite. You wanna literally pack in your food, pack up that plate and then just eat as fast as possible. That way you stuff in a lot more food before your brain and your stomach communicate to each other saying, hey, I'm really stuffed and I can't fit anymore. Whereas if you were to eat very slowly, by the time you're 80% full, your stomach is already signaling your brain, hey, I've had enough food, I'm full, so now you're starting to stretch me out, I don't like this. So the trick for hard gainers is to literally pack it in and just eat as quickly as possible whenever they're trying to bulk. And then obviously you're going to have different cycles where you're not trying to bulk all the time, because it's also, may not be the healthiest on your metabolism to be cramming in that much food and having it work. So that's in a nutshell the oversimplified version for hard gainers and easy gainers. So for the most part, a hard gainer, fairly easy to identify to the eyeball. You're already going to be pretty much lean. And so for men, if the optimal body fat range of motion is around, body fat percentage is around 18 to 24% or below 24%, and you coming back from a cruise is sitting at 15% body fat, 12% body fat, then that typically is a sign that if you've been eating a lot and you've been trying to gain weight, that you're a hard gainer. And if you're seriously committed to building muscle, you're gonna have to eat more. It's just how your metabolism works. Whereas, man, honestly, the last cruise I went on, in 3 days I put on like 7 pounds. So I'm definitely not a hard gainer by any means. And then same thing when I try to put on muscle, it's just easy for me. Now, the body fat burning, I got to put in an insane amount of work to be able to burn that body fat. So I wanted to cover that real quick. All right. Now, in terms of gaining that muscle, obviously eating alone isn't going to be enough. Whenever you eat and you don't work out, it starts to be stored as body fat. So we're actually gaining body fat by not working out. So basically what we want to do is put the fuel in and then go burn it. If we're a hard gainer, we got to put in a lot of fuel so that what we burn is going to our muscle and not just, burned off. So the point is, you obviously have to lift the weights. You have to eat, but you also have to lift the weights. Now, this is where philosophy-wise, I kind of differ a little bit from other people, especially, I wouldn't say especially, but a lot of bodybuilding coaches out there. One, I don't deal with a lot of bodybuilder clientele. They typically go to the bodybuilding gyms. I have worked with them before, and I have helped people build muscle, of course. But some people just like their specialties and their specialty gyms. Now, outside of that, one of the misconceptions when it comes to bodybuilding training is lifting heavy. Of course, we want to lift heavier to have more muscle, but the way I would put it, there's a slight misconception on the terminology of heavy lifting. So if you go and the absolute heaviest you can lift is, let's say, for example, a deadlift or a bench press. If the absolute heaviest you can lift is only 1 rep, that's your 100% max, right? So if you keep working on your 100% max over time, you will increase that number. That's technically not the fastest way to building more muscle. That is one of the best ways to build more strength. So that is a strength program. Heavy lifting is for building strength. Whenever you do more volume-based or density form of training with your weights, now that's building muscle. And so you have hypertrophy, which is building more muscle. You have power training, you have strength training, you have speed training, you have endurance training. So you have all of these different types of programs. And so the one that people think is the one that's going to give them the best results when it comes to bodybuilding or building more muscle is really the one that's just going to give them more strength. And when it comes to hard gainers, meaning it's hard for you to put on a lot of muscle, the more heavy lifting you do, that's going to really increase your metabolism even more. Really, anything you do extra is going to, really enhance your metabolism. But what you're going to notice is your strength is just going to be going through the roof. I'm talking about your deadlift is going to be increasing, your bench press is going to be increasing, your pull-ups, everything, and your muscle went, like it only went up, a real small amount. And so that's one of the things that happen, especially with hard gainers, is everything you're doing is going towards strength and power, and you're not really seeing the results. If anything, what you will see more of is you're shrinking more, because since your metabolism is going up and you're lifting heavier, you're burning more body fat and you're not really putting on the size that you want. So one of the downsides is you got to do more, right? You got to eat more, you got to lift more. Now, I've seen this work both ways in the lifting more department. There's a really strong theory that I have seen work for a lot of people, whereas if you're a hard gainer and you're hitting the gym every day, you're actually being more counterproductive than you think, because the more you do, the more calories you're burning. The more calories you burn, the more your metabolism is just shredding through all this food. So instead, what the principle that I've seen is you're only going to have 2, no more than 3 days of really hypertrophy training program, and the other days are more low intensity recovery kind of days, so that your metabolism isn't always running so high, and then that extra food that you're eating just isn't, burning away so fast. Does that make sense? And so the idea is Mondays and Thursdays, as an example, are going to be where I'm going to do a split routine, a total body. I'm just going to really beat up my muscles, break them down, and then they're going to rest over the next 2 to 3 days before I do it all over again. In the interim of those 2 to 3 days, I'm still packing in the calories, which is bulking me up. Basically, your goal is to make yourself fat. Like, there's no other way to put it. I'm going to eat extra to make myself fat, and then I'm going to burn it off in this one really crazy workout. And then I'll make myself fat for the next 2 to 3 days, and then burn it off in this really next crazy workout. And so that's one technique that I've seen work. You don't see it too often, because the more you get into working out, the better you feel, the more you want to keep working out. And it's kind of hard to, especially as you keep seeing results, to stay out of the gym. So you end up just being at the gym every single day anyways, or 4 to 5 days a week. Now, the other one is where you're just cramming in all the food, all the calories, especially grains, especially starches. So a lot of rice, a lot of fats as well. So one thing that happens is, for every 1 gram of carbs that you would eat, is more than double for fats. So if I eat 10 grams worth of rice, then it is 9 grams of fat if I were to have avocados or whatever. So 9 times that, 10, so it'd be 90. So for every 1 gram of carbs, it's going to be, or I'm saying carbs, it's calories. So for every 1 gram of carbs versus 1 gram of fats, it's going to be 4 calories for the carbs, 9 calories for the fat. So it's more than double in terms of calories when you're doing it that way. All right. I set aside some notes because I get sidetracked very easily, and I just start talking about all kinds of stuff. Anytime you have a question, just pop it in there, and I can answer your question, instead of, getting lucky with me just saying random stuff. All right. So one of the biggest things is to time your food with your workouts. So typically, even if you are working out every day, it is almost virtually impossible, unless you're performing at the highest, elite athlete level, where you've already been training, doing this way for years. It's virtually impossible that you have a very high intensity workout on a daily basis. You may have a tough workout. You may have a workout where you're putting in a lot of effort every single day. But in terms of truly breaking down your body, breaking down the muscles at that level of an intensity, it's really not every day. It's going to be more like 2 days in a row, and then an easy day, or a high-low routine. So Monday, I'm going to really tear it up in the gym. Tuesday is a lower intensity, smaller muscle groups, things like that. Wednesday, I go back to hitting it hard. Thursday, lower intensity. Friday, I go back to hitting it hard. So there's a lot of studies on how effective high-low routines are, or, having, 2 days on, 1 to 2 days off, or low, medium. So basically those are your 3 options: high, low, high, medium, low. So low is more functional recovery, stretching, rolling out, stability exercises, rotator cuff, things like that. Medium is going to be your auxiliary muscles, traps, shoulders. Still, you can do some major muscle groups, but you're not really hitting them that hard. And then high is going to be your big muscle groups, your pecs, your back, your quads, your glutes, deadlifts, pull-ups, things like that. And so those are going to be on your high routine, and then you just kind of scale it that way. On my dog wants to get out. All right, so to not make this all about hard gainers, so for easy gainers, again, same thing. Hey, Nisha, we're just about to start talking about margaritas. So for easy gainers, meaning, or just in general, people who want to eat more, or not want to eat more, but they want to build more muscle, and they know they have to eat more to build the muscle, but they want to stay lean, then what you want to do is more, again, like I was saying, you always want to time your foods or time your carbs. So is there a bad time to eat carbs? Not necessarily. The best time to eat the carbs is, so if you're trying to stay lean, like I was saying, if you're trying to stay lean and still build muscle at the same time, then what you want to do is carb cycle. So what that means is, even though I'm working out every day, I'm not going to have my carbs every day or have a high carb diet every day. Because again, too much of a good thing could be a bad thing, right? So everything in moderation, including moderation. So if I'm going to have my toughest workouts on Mondays and Thursdays, then I'm going to have my carb loading day that I'm cycling on the day before. So if my heaviest workout is on Monday, I'm going to have my carbs on Sunday. So Nidra, you can have that margarita on Sunday. And then if I'm working out heavy again on Thursday, I'm going to have my carb cycling on Wednesday. Give me a second. There it is. So also the other day, people were asking like, hey, where's your cats? I know you have cats. So this little one right here, she's the newest addition. So I have a doggy door. The dogs know how to use it. So does she. And at first she would just kind of poke her head out. And then after a while started venturing out. And then after more time, she started going out to the neighbors' yards. And they have big dogs that would eat her. So now whenever I let her out to roam around, I have to close the doggy door, which means I gotta open it. There you go, Luna. All right, but let me make sure I got your other question there. So one quick point, if you're trying to stay lean, so typically there's no bad time to have carbs, but if you're definitely trying to stay lean, the worst time to have carbs is for breakfast. The reason being is our body is like a machine, like a car, and so whatever you put into it, your body's gonna burn. Now, Aries, no. So whatever you put into your body, your body's gonna burn. So think about your car. You go to the gas station, you're looking at the pump, you see 3 options. You pick one, the best one for your car, you put it in. You pay, you drive off, your car immediately starts to burn that. Well, let's say you're on a road trip, you're running out of gas, there's no more gas stations ahead, and the option that you always pick is not there, and you only have the other option. You can still put that in your car and it'll work. It may not work as efficiently. Your car may burn it faster, may, whatever, may not be the best for it, but your car will burn whatever you put in it. You put water in the gas tank, it'll burn it. I don't know what happens if you put water in it, it might break it. But point being is whatever you put in your car, it'll burn. So our body's the same way. You put in protein, it's gonna burn it. You put in carbs, it's gonna burn it. You put in fats. The issue becomes is what happens when I do that balanced meal where for breakfast I had an omelet and I had fruits and I put an avocado. Well, your body's going to metabolize all of that and digest it, of course, but your body prioritizes the fuel source based on what it needs. And the American diet is very carb heavy, carb dependent. And so the body will start to prioritize the carbs first. And the proteins are super easy for the body to digest. So your body's gonna have no problem digesting the fruits and the protein or the eggs from that omelet very easily. But then what happens is those avocados, those fats that you ate, because your body's busy digesting this, that starts to get stored away. And it gets stored in your body. It now becomes more body fat. If we continue to have too much of extra anything, so let's say people who binge eat, I'm a notorious binge eater, Aries. So when I let them in, there's always something I'm telling you around this time. They're super quiet. I start the video and then just the most bizarre stuff starts happening. When I let him in, a moth came in, so now he can't leave the moth alone. He's just like sitting there staring at it and whining. Okay, so what happens is if you binge eat, overeat, pretty much anything where you're eating in excess, your body doesn't only store that away as body fat, it actually converts it over to triglycerides. So your LDL, all your bad cholesterol, these different things, that's what makes it start to go up. So one, it's not that fats are even bad or unhealthy for us. We need fats. They are super healthy. They actually help work with and stimulate our hormones in the body and regulate a lot of different things. What happens though is the body is unable to burn that fat that you just ate because it's prioritizing the carbs that you ate at the same time. That's why it's really good to do every once in a while. I'm a big believer in once a month doing like some form of intermittent fasting for at least a week. Going into a lower carb diet for a little bit. Hey, Riri. Going into a lower carb diet for a little bit. Basically just doing these different, not necessarily diets, but just working on that metabolic flexibility, which was the video that I did last Sunday. Okay, so like I said, man, I could talk a lot on any one topic. Let me make sure that I got your question though. So if you're trying to stay lean, the worst time to eat carbs or anything sugar is for breakfast. So basically everything that is in the American diet that says have this for breakfast, all the commercials that say breakfast foods, don't eat those. So cereal, that thing's better for dinner. Your fruits and things like that, better for lunch. Basically your carbs, starches, grains, fruits, anything sugary, and of course we're talking about, more natural, healthy, sugary stuff. That's gonna be better for lunch. So kind of think of your breakfast, more protein, your lunch, more carbs, and then your dinner, more fats. And so as an example, breakfast and grits kind of slides by a little bit. There's some leniency with not grits, oats, steel cut oats. And so breakfast, more of a protein with some fats, really no carbs. And then for lunch, that's when you start having more, the sweet potato or even bread or, rice or whatever. And then dinner, that's when you're going to have more of your protein with the vegetables and fats or oils and things like that. So it's like a balancing act. The more carbs you have, the less fats you want to have, but you need fat. So that means you have to have a meal that has lower carbs with more fat so that your body's actually going to utilize it and burn it. All right. Okay. I think I answered your question. Did I answer your question? I probably answered your question 5 different ways. All right. Okay. So, other than that, if you're a hard gainer, then it's a free-for-all, man. You can you lucky bastard, you can have rice for breakfast, breads. You can carb up, load up, have your baked potatoes with everything in it. But like I said, the thing you do want to be cognizant of is the fats, because if you're constantly having that high carb diet for every meal, that also means that the body's not really gonna be able to digest the fats as well. But typically, whenever you're doing like a health check, they're always gonna let you know how your fats are doing, right? The HDL, LDL, things like that. Okay. So I think I touched this point just lightly. So obviously in building muscle, you have to lift weights. The way For most people who have been working out for a while, there's already this kind of understanding that we're gonna plateau. So there's gonna come a time where all the weights that you're lifting, boom, you're just not able to go any heavier, or you're going heavier, but you're just not building muscle. And so basically we plateaued. Hey. I was just looking at your videos with your son. It's always, y'all's interaction is classic. So where was I? I always get so distracted. So with the workouts, there's a periodization. Okay, so periodization, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get the definition wrong, but I'm going to explain it the way it's supposed to be explained. It's a wave. All right. So whenever we plateau, typically what's happening is we're thinking of our workouts in a linear fashion. So here's a linear fashion. The first time I ever did bicep curls was 12 pounds. As I got stronger, went up to 15 pounds. 2 weeks later, I'm at 20 pounds. 6 months later, I'm doing 35, 40 pounds. It's been a year and I can't go above 45 pounds on a bicep curl. So now I plateaued. That's linear. I went from 12 to 15 to 20, 25, 40, 45. And then once I hit that 45, boop, it just flatlined. So periodization is when you're hitting the different forms or programs of lifting. So the different programs of lifting is power, strength, volume. So there's a lot more in between. There's really like 7, if you want to be uber technical, there's like 7 different programs. But those are the main 3, is your volume, your strength, and your power. So power, in terms of percentages, again, if I'm going back to that deadlift or that bench press, that chest press, power is above 90%, basically. So 100% deadlift means I can only lift it once. 92% on the bench means I'm going to get like 3 reps out of it. And so whenever I'm playing around in that 1 to 5 rep range, that's considered a power program. Whenever I'm playing around in that 8 to 12 rep range, that's a strength program. Whenever I'm in anything above 12, so typically 15 to 20, I personally don't go above 20 because I hate counting that big. I've been a trainer for too long. I can only count up to 20. Like, this is it, and then I start over, and then I'm done. Like, and then if I'm working out and I got to count it in my head, it's not happening. So I stop at 20. So that's volume. Now, there's a misconception that says if you want more muscle, lift heavy. If you want to burn more body fat, do more reps and lighter weight. That's not a good quote or philosophy to go by. In actuality, if you want more muscle, it's about, just like with the food, it's about cramming in as much possible work in a short amount of time. And the easiest, most effective way of doing that is volume training. So volume training is where I'm going to do, let's just keep it simple, 20 reps. So let's say squats. Because I'm doing 20 reps, I'm not going to be able to lift as heavy as 5 reps. So I do have to literally lower the weight, but I'm not necessarily lowering my effort. And so that's where that quote can really mess people up, is you want to keep your effort high. You want to keep your intensity high, even though you're lowering the weight for the number of reps that you're doing. So the idea is I'm going to do 100%, but for the number of reps that I need to do for my program. So if I'm in the volume phase of my program, which is right in between, overlaps with what we call the hypertrophy phase. So if I'm in my volume phase of my program and I'm going to do 20 reps, that means I'm going to do my absolute heaviest for 20 reps. So I'm not able to do 21, 22, 23 reps. So the rule of thumb is, if my second and third set I can do 22 or more reps, that means I'm too strong for this weight. I'm not going to see the results that I'm looking for, and I need to increase my weight. Now, same thing. The rule of thumb is, if I can't get to 20, I'm barely hitting 15, then that weight is too heavy, and I need to lower it just enough to where I'm really fatiguing throughout 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and I'm done at 20 and not able to do it. So the reason we don't base it off of that first set is because you're always going to come in fresh and strongest for your first set. And then, so that's not a really good gauge. If you're doing 3-4 sets of chest press, 3-4 sets of squats, and you're still, and you know you can rep out a few more, then that's too light and you need to increase it. And that's maybe one reason why you're plateauing, because you think you shouldn't be going heavier. But in actuality, you want to lift the heaviest for the number of reps. Now, typically, people who've been working out for a while, they understand that they're going to plateau eventually. And when they plateau, they need to change their program. And so here's some good rule of thumbs. It typically takes the body 4 to 6 weeks to plateau, even up to 8 weeks. Hey, Maria. So like I was telling you before, so this video is on building more muscle. So to build more muscle, we need both nutrition and exercise. So this video is kind of a 2-in-1 because I usually do mostly just nutrition on these videos. And so right now we're going over periodization on the workouts. So if you're doing volume, and you're going to do volume or any one program for at least 4 weeks and then no more than 8 weeks. And so typically it's 6 weeks. So if you're working with a personal trainer, oh, I got little hearts. Thank you. If you're working with a personal trainer, typically they program out for 4 weeks. Why? Because that's the business model. The business model is you get a 4-week plan, and then on the first of the month, you get a new 4-week plan. A lot of times, if you go to a bodybuilding gym, a strongman gym, these other more sport-based training facilities, and even if you do have a one-on-one trainer, but in general you have an overall coach, they're programming 6 weeks. A lot of times they program 8 weeks. Some of them, they'll program 12 weeks, but within it, they'll have the different cycles of training within that 12-week plan. So they'll say, hey, these next 12 weeks, we're going to build up strength, but we're starting out with volume and then going into strength and then finishing out with power within those 12 weeks. But the business model of personal training is 4 weeks. So that's what everybody knows is every 4 weeks, I got to switch up my plan. You typically switch your plan when you plateau. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So if your volume program is working for you, stick to your volume program. And so the other rule of thumb is you're going to keep getting stronger because any strength program you're on, you're going to keep getting stronger as long as you continue to increase the weight. So what you want to do is week after week, see that first rule of thumb of, can I do more reps than what I'm supposed to? So if I'm supposed to stop at 20, can I do 22? If I can, then that means I'm taking up my weight. Obviously, if you finish that workout, you make a note so that the next time you do that workout, your weight goes up. So if you were doing 30, 35 pounds, then if you're doing that workout 2-3 days later, you're now doing 40 pounds. So that's the idea. Now, here's the other thing. So here's an example. Monday, you did squats. You're doing 50 pounds on your squats. You're able to do more than 20 reps. So you decide Thursday when you do squats again, you're going to take up the weight to 65. Hey, how's it going? And so whenever you take up the weight to 65 on Thursday, you realize you could do the first set easy, good, but then your second set, you couldn't do all the reps. That does not mean you go back down to the 50 that you were doing on Monday. What that means is your first set will always be at 65, and then your second set, do as many reps as you can until you can't, and then finish the reps with the lighter weight. So take both dumbbells. You get what I'm saying here? We want to keep challenging the body, because if you go back to something that your body can handle, which means it's within its threshold, there's no reason for your body to adapt or change. So there's been a lot of studies done on how muscle grows, right? So the concept of making muscle grow when it comes to lifting weights only and nothing to do with nutrition is basically You have an immovable force, right? Or an immovable object, because you're the force. You have an immovable object, and then you being the force applies pressure onto that. Because it's not able to move, your body is going to give its all to move it, and it's going to not be able to. Then the next day you come back and you do it again, and it still doesn't move because it's an immovable object. And then you come back. Point being is, after enough weeks of you giving 100% effort into trying to move an immovable object, you will realize that one day you come up to that wall, it still didn't move, but you have a lot more muscle. The reason being is your body is identifying that there's an object that it cannot move, and it wants you to succeed. So whatever you create in your brain and you commit to, and you tell your body to do it, your body may not be able to do it right then and there, right? Like you never ran in your life and you want to run a marathon. Your body wants you, your mind and body wants you to succeed, but it knows that you're not in the condition to finish that marathon. But every day you go out and run a portion of that marathon, that first mile, and then the next day 2 miles, or not the next day, but the next week 3 miles, and so forth. Eventually, by you trying to hit that immovable force of the 24 miles or however many it is, you're going to blow through it because your body wants you to succeed. And so when it comes to muscle or bodybuilding, the idea is to create that immovable object through your training. So here's what I mean. Your first set is never when the workout begins. Your workout doesn't begin until that 4th, 5th set or that 3rd exercise on that same muscle group. So let's say you want to work on your arms. Your first set of bro curls, that's just a warm-up, right? That second set of the same one, warm-up. Then you go and you get your dumbbell hammer curls. Now these bad boys, they're burning, they're fatiguing, you can barely bring it up, you're getting sloppy with your form and your technique, your workout just began. When you start pushing yourself at that moment, that's when you're going to start seeing results, because your body's going to adapt to that immovable object because you keep applying force to it. If you always work within that range of, I can do this and I can do the 20 reps and I can lift this weight and I can do that, yeah, you'll see results, you'll get stronger, but it's going to be very slow. That took a lot longer than I thought it would. So the idea is to keep increasing the weight. You're going to get to a point to where you can't do more weight, and so do the most that you can, and then take the weight down to finish the rest of the reps and the sets, because your body is going to be so fatigued that on paper, you're going to put 65 pounds, 50 pounds, or whatever. But whenever you're pushing your body to the max, your body only knows 100%, 100%, 100%. That effort that you're putting in on that, what is becoming an immovable object. And so if you're putting 100% effort on that 50 pounds, your body doesn't know it's 50 pounds. It just knows this shit's heavy. And then as you fatigue and get weaker and it's 30 pounds, what's going on? And it becomes 30 pounds because you're so fatigued. Again, your body doesn't know it's 30 pounds. It just knows this thing is really, really heavy because you're so fatigued. It's that effort, the intensity, that 100% that you're putting into it that's getting you the results that you want, that's going to make your body adapt, so that once you eat, rest, recover, come back to it, you now have more muscle because it's adapting to want to move what you're moving. All right, so let me make sure I'm hitting all these points. Did that. Okay, so we're pretty much coming to a close now. Some interesting tidbits. There's a lot of, in my opinion, misconceptions on what makes your metabolism go faster. So, y'all see my cat? Hey. Look at you. You know you're not supposed to be up there. I'm telling you, when the camera's on, they just want to do like the craziest stuff. Okay. So, eating berries, drinking wheatgrass, I don't know, just whatever health nut stuff out there they say will increase your metabolism. It's not necessarily true. Here's what's really happening. We have, for the most part, such a bad diet, or we're eating so many things that isn't natural for the body, that our body has to do so much work to process it. And we also have not, work, lifestyle, sleep, whatever. We don't always have like the best structure in our eating and our timing and things like that, that our metabolism starts to slow down and starts to lag. It's not because of our age, it's because of what we're doing with those years with our food. And so our metabolism starts to lag. Whenever we start to replace some of those foods with the wheatgrass and the blueberries and these different things, our metabolism does not increase. Our metabolism goes back to what it was because it's not having as many things that are lagging it. And we're putting more things that actually make it run more efficiently. So I know you watch any of my videos, I keep using cars as an analogy. I'm putting the right oils in, I'm doing the oil change, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And so now my car's humming. When I'm not, it's not humming. I'm having to do other things to fix it. And so, hey, Lindsay, being nosy. How's it going? So these foods, there's a misconception. Obviously, it's all advertising that, eat this to make your metabolism go up. It doesn't. What it does is whenever we're replacing it with those healthier options, we're just getting our metabolism to where it should have always been, which now feels like it's increased. In theory, it has, or in all practicalness, it has increased, but in the absolute sense, it hasn't. But there is something that does make your metabolism increase. And so the thing that makes your metabolism increase is muscle. So if you are 5 foot even in height and someone else is 6 foot even in height, they're carrying more muscle because of their height alone. Because of that extra muscle, and not because of the height, but because of that extra muscle, everything has to, work harder, do more, needs more fuel. So their metabolism is going to burn more than a 5 foot even person. But if you're 6 foot tall, skin and bones, very lean muscle, and you're 5 foot even, just stout, you're going to be burning a lot more calories. Your metabolism is going to be way higher because you're carrying a lot more muscle regardless of your height. So what I'm saying is, for anybody out in the world, most people, it's actually very healthy for you to put on an extra even 10 pounds of muscle. So to some people, 10 pounds of muscle sounds like a lot, but we're talking about spread out over 28 major muscle groups, a quarter of a pound on, biceps, triceps, shoulders, pecs, glutes, your abs. And so whenever you spread this out, you're going to gain these extra 10 pounds of muscle, which is, that muscle density is healthy for your bones, healthy for your body, and it's good for your metabolism. All right. So that's the first interesting tidbit. So to increase your metabolism, have more muscle. So for the hard gainer, this is the hard part for you, is the more your metabolism is already going through the roof. All the grains, all the starches you eat are just being shredded before your muscles can really use them, convert them to glycogen. And so what ends up happening is you eventually do start building muscle, but now when you do build the muscle, your metabolism is even higher, which means you have to eat even more. And now you're like carrying a suitcase, like literally I've seen, you're carrying a suitcase of food. Like it's just, thank you for all the hearts. And so that's what becomes the hard part for you, is the more muscle you get, the more food you got to eat. And then the more muscle you get, and then the more food you got to eat. Eventually, you're going to hit a point where I've seen it with every hard gainer that puts on 25, 30 pounds of muscle, where they're like, I just can't put on any more muscle. Like, it's just too much food. It's crazy. And so that's going to be the biggest dilemma, is finding out how to get, I know a guy, he found a drink, I don't know the name of it, but I know it's full of sugar for sure. He found a drink, it's about 20-ounce bottle, and it's like 2,200 calories, like just something insane. And he drinks like 1.5 of those every day, and he's my size. So, and I'm not really a big guy, but yeah, just the amount of calories you got to pack in. All right. Here's the other tidbit. Extra protein. So a high protein diet. One, I'm not a believer in a high protein diet. Extra protein or high protein diet will make you age faster. So the amount of work that your body has to do to break down protein to convert it over to as a fuel source, it's going to affect your skin. It's going to affect your organs. It's going to affect your body. Look it up on Google. Extra protein will age you. Everything I say, look it up on Google. That's where I get all my stuff from. And so it's gonna extra protein ages you. In general, there are some formulas out there to kind of keep it as precise as you need it to make sure that you're not over consuming on protein. So one is based off of your calories. So typically your protein is always going to be, yeah, right, because I know you're doing a lot of protein right now. But yours is more plant-based and your extra protein isn't as extra, the amount of extra I'm talking about. The amount of extra I'm talking about is like 200 grams of protein. I'm talking about like bodybuilder level extra protein. But in general, the formulas. So one formula is typically protein is never higher than 30% of your overall calorie intake. So usually it's about 25%. So carbs in the standard American diet makes up about 40-45% of your totals. So usually the balancing act is I'm going to eat 25% of my daily allowance for protein, and then the rest of that 75%, I'm doing a balancing act between my carbs and my fats. So lunch, 25% protein, 45% carbs, and then, I don't know, what's the math? 30% of monounsaturated fats. So your oils, avocado, stuff like that. And then for dinner, I'm going to have the 25% protein. I'm going to take my carbs down to 10, 25%, no more than 30. And then my fats, percentage-wise, is going to be more. Okay. I had to get real close to see what it was. And so, again, there's a difference between percentages and actual quantities, right? So I can have a plate this big and it can be 100% full. And I can have a plate this big and it can be 100% full, right? So that's one of the funky things about percentages, but in general, your total allowance. So, hey, that's like, you got all like, what, 15 minutes ago? How's it going? So, lost my train of thought. So the formulas, so how do I base it? If I'm going to do the 20% off of my daily allowance, how do I find out what my daily allowance is? Typically, you take your body weight. A rough way of doing it is you take your body weight times 10. And so if I'm 220 pounds right now, times 10, that's 2,200 calories. That's my daily allowance. Boom. So if I'm working out 1-2 days a week, kind of staying active throughout the week, I'm going to do my body weight times 10, comes out to 2,200 calories. Now, I am working out a lot. I'm hitting the weights. I'm doing cardio. I'm doing a lot of different things. So I'm going to do my body weight times 12, whatever that is. So that takes it up to about 2,400, let's just say 2,600 rounding up. So because I'm working out, I can eat 2,600 calories. So that's a very, very rough sketch, but that's still something to work with. So I'm going to take my 2,600 calories because I'm working out based off of this rough math of my body weight times 12, and I'm going to take that times 25%. That's how much protein I should be eating in calories. And then if I need to find out the grams, I divide that by 4. And so that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is if you're working out, you're trying to body build, meaning you're trying to build muscle throughout your body. It is 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if I weigh, I got my phone there, so I don't have a calculator on me. But if I weigh 200, I'm going to divide 200 by, if I weigh 220, I'm going to divide it by 2.202 or 2.2, which is 1 pound, 2.2 pounds to a kilogram. I divide my body weight by the 2.2. That's going to give me my body weight in kilograms. And then times 1. That's... So, yes, I definitely try to post this immediately. So the one I did last Sunday... Yeah. So here's what's funny. The one I did last Sunday was how to make any diet work for you and how to make your metabolism what's called metabolically flexible, which is what we want, right? To be efficient at burning fats and body fat and stuff like that. Talk about intermittent fasting. Awesome video. So it's not that I didn't save it. What happened was when I was posting it, I backed out and because it wouldn't save it. I don't know if it was because it was so long. Like this one is already about to be an hour long. So thank you all for staying so long. When it wouldn't, Instagram would not save the video. I'm assuming because it was so long. And then when I backed out of it and I went back into the app, like literally 2-second difference, it erased everything. And so I'm having to reshoot that one. And it's been a week now. It's crazy. This week went by real fast. But I'm going to do my best just to post this one immediately without backing out. Okay, so where was I? One of the formulas, and this is a high protein formula. So you got to be like seriously doing a lot of weights to do this formula. 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. All right, so thank you, Sandra, for helping me out here. My body weight is 220. Converting it to kilograms puts it at 99.79 kilograms. Yeah, so I was saying, that's why I did 220 because it comes out even. So let's say 100 kilograms. And then I'd be eating 100 grams of protein. I'd be eating 100 grams of protein right now, which for me, that's a lot. So that's how you do it. But again, like I was saying, a very high protein diet will age you faster than what you want. Now, here's the other interesting tidbit is protein is protein. Protein does not mean meat. Meat is only one source of protein. And so what I'm saying is whenever you're having a balanced plate, you don't need as much meat source protein as you would think. You would get it from the rest of your foods. Even sweet potato has some protein in it. So kale, spinach, broccoli, all of these things are going to have at least 1 gram per cup, 1 gram of protein. And so that's going to be easier for your body to digest, but your body works a lot more efficiently on plant-based proteins than meat-based proteins. One of the reasons being is just for 1 gram, it's coming from a variety of different sources from the different foods. And so whenever your body breaks that down and is putting those pieces together, kind of like a little puzzle inside, it's easier. I don't know what that means. It's easier for your body to digest it because it's easier to break it down on the plant-based because it's coming from a variety instead of only one, which is called the biological value of protein. Your body's going to absorb more of it and actually utilize it. Whenever we have a really dense source of protein, it's harder for our body to break that down and use it. And so one of the next interesting tidbits that I have here is there's a lot of vegan bodybuilders. There's a lot of football players, like people walking around strongman. There's people walking around with a lot of muscle and performing at the highest level on vegan-only diets. And the reason that's possible is because, one, there's a lot of high-intensity energy. You need carbs as a fuel source for it. Marathon runners, that's why they do carb loading, a few days before. Which really you just need 3 days of carb loading. But there's an old school like 7 days of carb loading. Where was I? So the vegan high performing athletes, they're getting their protein. They're getting all the protein that they need from the variety of all the plant sources, and their body's actually utilizing it a lot more efficiently and effectively than only getting it from meat. For me, for this weight loss challenge or body transformation challenge, the 60-day challenge that I'm doing, I did My first 3 weeks, I'm doing protein only. That doesn't mean I'm doing a high protein diet. What that means is my daily allowance, that 25% that I'm allowing myself based off of my calories, I'm only eating that. I'm not eating anything else. So I'm giving myself just a little bit more protein. So let's say if I did have a complete plate, I would have about 30% of that plate be protein. And then everything else I'm just taking off the plate, and that's all I'm eating. And so it's not technically a high protein diet. It's just a protein only diet. The percentage is high, but the actual quantity isn't that high. And then I plateaued. So I saw great results. I lost 12 pounds in 10 days, my first 10 days of the challenge. But then after that, I plateaued. And so I ate more calories, which meant I started eating more chicken. And then still didn't work, still plateaued. I worked out harder, still didn't work. I did, so I said, screw it. I gotta trick my metabolism. So I ordered pizza, still didn't work. Actually, after the pizza and I got on the InBody machine at Lifetime, my muscle went up an extra pound and my body fat stayed the same. And so this past week, so today, here's what I ate today. I didn't have anything for breakfast. I started work early. By lunchtime, I went to Popeyes and I had the chicken sandwich twice. I literally ordered 2 combos of the chicken sandwich with fries, and I ate that. And then I ordered a bunch of Chinese food about 2-3 hours later, and I probably had, honestly, like 4 pounds worth of fried rice, 2-3 pounds worth of General Tso's chicken, 3 egg rolls. I think that's it. Yeah. And hopefully it works, because honestly, I'm getting tired of eating. I feel like a hard gainer right now. All right. Okay. So we're almost done here. All right. So the last one. Yeah, we're on the last one. So, you know what? You would think it's it's a nice diet. It's definitely a fun way of eating. I did not invite because I had to eat it all, and there was no sharing. So I would have to order even more food. I'll do that next time. I'll order even more because I still got 6 more weeks, and I know I'm gonna plateau again. So on the next one, what was I gonna say? I forgot, but yes, it's whenever you're trying to lose the weight, it's not fun having to eat this much food to lose weight. The irony. Sharing is caring, but I will do better. So the last tidbit is the common misconception. I've already said it a few times. The misconception is we need more protein for more muscle. That is not true. It is carbs, it is starches that grows more muscle, not protein. Protein, people think it's more of a marketing thing, but what it comes down to is whenever we work our muscle to grow it, we break it down, it gets sore, then we have to build it back up. What do we build it up with? Protein. Proteins are the building blocks of muscle. That's not the same as construction and building a house and somebody gives you, or Lego set, and somebody says, hey, these are the building blocks of this Lego set. You don't just start stacking them on top of each other. So protein doesn't work that way. Protein by itself is actually not the best source to really grow muscle. You would have to eat, again, an insane amount of protein for protein alone to build the muscle that you want. The easy route is to eat grains, especially. So beans, which is a legume, beans, your legumes, your grains, your rice, wheat, breads. So all of these things are super, super dense, and grains obviously processed as well. But whenever you eat grains, especially as a hard gainer, meaning it's hard for you to build muscle, that's the number one thing. So you could be eating a lot more protein and you're just stuffing yourself. It's really not going to work that well. Start eating more grains, eat rice with every meal, eat sweet potatoes, eat, a lot of this stuff, eat more bread, and you'll start to notice you're going to be plumping up a little bit more. The reason being is grains, or let's just say starches, they have what's called an anabolic effect. Anabolic means growing. Catabolic means breakdown. And so what we want is more anabolic foods, which is the starches. All right. Cover the volume training, heavy lifting, cover the vegan diet, carbs for more muscle, protein, aging you faster. Here's another thing with extra protein. The processes that the body has to go through to break down protein and convert it over to energy. One, it's really hard on, your liver, but it also produces more urea and different things like that. So the more protein you're eating, you actually have to be drinking even more water already to help your body process all this extra protein. Went over that, and then there was only 1 or 2 questions that were asked. So that is it. We're done. So I answered anything, unless anybody else has a last question or anything like that. Maybe next time we'll get some Chinese food and margaritas when I plateau again, because I only had food this time. And it is late. I don't know if y'all can tell, my eyes are a little hazy. So I definitely need more sleep. This weekend was rough on me. But so this video, right after this, once I hop off, I'm going to immediately put it on Instagram. And then I don't know how I did it last time, but I'm going to fumble around, figure out how to put it on my YouTube channel like I did the other one. And then I got to reshoot the video that I did last time on how to make any diet work for you and how to make your metabolism more what's called metabolically flexible. And that's pretty much it. So my goal is to do this every Sunday at about 9:30. Really, honestly, I always try to get it done in about 15, 30 minutes tops, but I talk a lot and I get sidetracked, and I answer your questions. So, but thank you for staying on this late with me on a Sunday night. I definitely appreciate it. And so I don't mind. But yeah, let's keep it going. So I'll be back next Sunday. But in the meantime, send me questions, give me stuff to talk about. This topic on how to eat for gaining muscle was because I had at least 3 people say, hey, I want more muscle. Too much protein for meats includes... So too much protein is a number on your grams. Let's just say grams. So it's virtually impossible to have too much protein in grams coming from broccoli. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be too full of this fibrous food to ever have too much protein from broccoli. It is very easy to get too much protein from 10 chicken thighs, ribs and stuff like that. So if you're having, so a good rule of thumb is it's harder for the body to digest beef. So not having red meat more than 2 days out of the week. That's, a good rule of thumb out there. Everything else is, poultry or, whatever else. But yes, to answer your question very specifically, it doesn't matter the source. What matters is the overall grams that you're eating. So if you do one of those formulas, if you do the 25% off of your calories, and then you divide by 4, that'll tell you how many grams. So typically most of us are sitting at about 60 grams of protein a day when we're working out. And it doesn't matter if you're eating meat or you're not eating meat. If you're at 100 grams when the math says you should be about at 60, you're eating too much protein. Because you're not carrying the muscle for that amount of protein, and your body's going to have to do a lot of work to break that down. So, but if we do the math, and the math shows that we're supposed to be eating 100 grams of protein, and we're eating 100 grams of protein, then it's not too much, because that's the amount of muscle that we have. Does that make sense? So in a relative sense, yes. In an absolute sense, you go off of the math. You got to know exactly how many grams, because too much meat isn't necessarily too much meat if you're below the math there. I think I answered your question. It's late. Yeah, so, but again, protein is protein. It doesn't matter if it comes from meat, beef, chicken, venison, protein is protein. You do the grams based off of the math, and if you're way above that, then bring it down or get your muscle up, which bring it down and then get your muscle up. The last tidbit, because you just reminded me, this one I didn't write down. The last tidbit is for the amount of food you're currently eating and for the way that you're currently eating, you can actually build, in my experience, you can actually put on at least 5 pounds of muscle, sometimes even 10, without changing your eating. Basically what that means is we already had the food or the amount of food that we need. We just didn't have the appropriate stimulus to our muscles to be able to get our muscle up. So the way I kind of alluded to it in the beginning, as far as like where my opinion differs a little bit from some traditional bodybuilding coaches, is I feel like you're already having enough protein and you're already having enough foods. We just haven't hit the threshold of what that food is delivering. And so what I do is we start with the program first. So you start doing the workouts first. You start hitting the gym first. Basically, you make your body deserve and earn that food instead of saying, I'm going to start putting on muscle now. I have to eat this food. And you haven't even hit the gym yet. You're hitting the grocery store before you even got your workout in. So with the certain amount of food that you're already eating, just by doing the workouts, you'll start to notice you're getting stronger without having to change your eating. You're starting to build a little bit more muscle. And then you're going to notice just by focusing on the program alone, you're going to put on about 5 pounds of muscle. You could do that. You can lose body fat faster than you gain muscle. But typically you can gain 1 to 3 pounds of muscle a month. And that's being average committed 3-4 days a week in the gym, more like 3 days. You can put on, for sure, 1 pound of muscle a month. So in 2 months, you would have 5 pounds of muscle. Technically, your first month doesn't count because you're just getting ready to your programs. So in a 12-week program, your first month, not counting your first month because you're just getting your feet wet, getting started with your programs. So month 2, you'll gain 1 to 3 pounds. Month 3, you'll gain 1 to 3 pounds. So in 12 weeks or 3 months, a 3-month program of a periodized program, you can gain 6 pounds of muscle without having to change your food, without having to increase your protein, without having to increase your starches or anything like that, because we're already carrying it on us. It's like having a full tank of gas, but you only work 5 miles from home. You have the fuel in you to take the trip further, but you're just not utilizing it. And so utilize it first, earn the trip to the gas station to refuel. Does that make sense? All right, so I think that's it, unless anybody else has any more questions. I mean, drink some water and let you think about it. So I have to drink like three of these a day. I've been so busy eating, this is still my first one. Another interesting tidbit, we get about 1 liter of water whenever we're eating vegetables. That's how much water it holds, especially lettuce. And so that's another good reason to eat your veggies. All right, so thank you all for watching. Yeah, just the bigger margarita bowls, that's they'll have some extra water in there for you, I'm sure. And so So I have a separate video that I'm gonna post as well that I already shot. I just gotta finish editing it. But it tells you how to calculate your water so that you know how much water you're drinking. So kind of like the protein question, am I having too much protein from meats or whatever? Same thing with water. Am I not drinking enough or am I drinking enough? There's a formula for it. For the average person, half your body weight in ounces of water is the rule of thumb. And then for people who are working out, being outside, sweating, things like that, then there's another formula for it, which is 1 liter of water for every 1,000 calories you burn. All right. So again, thank y'all for staying on. Thank y'all for watching. I'll be putting this up. Hopefully this doesn't disappear, but the goal is to put it immediately onto Instagram right now and then putting it over on my YouTube channel, which is KingSuarezDoes, all one word. Never drinking enough. Probably. I mean, it never hurts to drink more water. Very rarely is that a bad thing. You'd have to be drinking an insane amount of water. So, yeah, just get one of these. This is huge, but it's actually only 64 ounces. It's insulated. That's why it looks so big. I have 2 of them. You see my red one back there? So because I have to drink 3, I'll just grab the other one. Yeah, so definitely drink more water, especially if you're bodybuilding, trying to build more muscle, things like that. You got to have more water. You don't necessarily have to have more protein. Your body will tell you when you need more food. Your body will tell you when you need more protein. If you're always feeling sore, that's a sign you need protein. If your performance is starting to suffer, that's a sign you need more protein. If you're starting to feel lethargic, moody, things like that, that's a sign you're not getting enough calories in general, which typically the first way of getting more calories is adding more fats, not protein. And so different symptoms that you feel is your body's way of communicating with you, telling you what you need. It's just the process or the learning curve of us learning how to listen to our body and identify what means what, as opposed to, just more protein. But yeah, all right. Like I said, man, I can go on forever talking, and my pets, they're all just laid out. This is a first. So thank y'all. I'll be back again next Sunday. Yeah, there you go. Just knock it out. That's one way to do it. Or you can have a bowl of cereal because you're not supposed to have it for breakfast. All right. So thank y'all. Have a great night. This is for you. So send me what you want me to do next on nutrition and things like that, and we'll keep moving forward. All right. Bye-bye.